hello. Are you out ghost hunting too? It's perfect night. Moon is full. Perfect night for ghost hunting. It's just like Gran Seraphina. You never heard the story of Gran Seraphina? Oh, well, let me tell you. Gran Seraphina. The moon has a special place in the hearts of the Constantines. There is a power in its light, a dark power that, although not as bright as the sun, can warm the heart and chill the soul. Gran Seraphina was a beautiful woman, born with a birthmark that looked like a crescent moon under her chest. She was always obsessed with the moon, even as a small child, playing in the moonlight with no fear of the dark. Some say that was why she was as powerful as she was. Every night she would dance in the moonlight for hours in her own special way. It was a beautiful sight to both men and women, but especially men. Only one man ever won her heart, though, and that was her childhood friend, Horea. Horea was an orphan boy that Sarafina's mother, Cordelia, had adopted and raised as her own. The two were inseparable. Whenever Sarafina danced, Horea watched. Everyone knew they would end up married, and on Sarafina's 20th birthday, they were. Inscribed on their silver wedding rings were the words, Impreuna Toteona, together forever. They had a single daughter, Aradia, but that is a story for another time. But still, Sarafina danced every night under the moonlight, with Horea watching. Now, whenever the caravan pulled into a new area or new town, the dancing Constantine sisters were always an attention-getter. Sarafina did not dance in the show. She was usually busy juggling or hooping, but when the moon was full and rising over the hills, Sarafina would dance to attract the locals to the camp. It was hard to miss her dancing, her body silhouetted by the moon, acting as a beacon to the young man, calling them in to see the show. And Horea was always nearby, watching. It was not unusual for some of the men to try to approach Sarafina while she was dancing, but Horea kept them back and kept them acting respectfully towards his wife. Traveling through the Urals had been a good idea, and the Constantines had made many monies that year. There were no problems, the weather had been good, it was the final week before they were to head back east, and it was a full moon. Sarafina and Horea went up to the hill at sunset, and once again her dancing worked its magic, calling in many local peoples. Around 8 that night, just as the crowd was enjoying the puppet show, a bloodied Horea stumbled out of the darkness and into the camp. Cordelia ran to his side just as he fell to his knees. Breathing heavily, he told her how Sarafina had been dancing as usual, and a group of Cossacks had climbed the hill to watch. He said they stayed back watching her dance quietly, but suddenly one lunged out and grabbed Sarafina. Horea also grabbed Sarafina and tried to defend her, but someone or something hit him in the back of the head. As his vision faded, his last memory was of Sarafina's hands being pulled out of his, before he blacked out. He held up his shaking hand to Cordelia, revealing his wife's silver wedding ring still in his palm. By now, other family members had approached the injured man kneeling before Cordelia and heard the full story. Without words, they knew what to do. They were a family, first and foremost. The Constantines began scattering to close the camp down as fast as possible. Some of the men went to gather weapons and torches. Cordelia shouted for someone to help Horea to his tent to rest, but Horea would not have it. He stood up, picked up a sickle, and headed back into the dark. Soon, all of the family members were out looking for Sarafina. They scattered to the foothills and to the glens. Even some of the locals helped in the search. Cordelia had long lost sight of Horea, but she struggled to search as well. In the dark, she climbed what she believed to be the hill Sarafina had been dancing on. Below, she could see the small torchlights scattering like wildfire, and could just make out the voices calling out for Sarafina. Walking up the hill in the path she had guessed Horea had made before her, Cordelia finally reached the top. She could see a small patch of dirt. In the dirt, a mass of footprints, probably where the attack had taken place, but no sign of Sarafina or Horea. Walking around, she scanned the ground for a trail, but the grass and scrub brush were too thick to find any footprints. Then she saw it. A rocky crag at the edge. A glint of moonlight reflected off of a sickle resting at the edge of the rocks. Cordelia raised her shawl to cover her head. Later that night, the body of Horea was found at the bottom of the rocks and brought back to camp. Cordelia washed the body and prepared it for a burial the next morning at the top of the hill in that same patch of dirt. They never found Sarafina. But it is said on cool fall evenings, when the moon is full, you can still see the silhouette of a ghostly woman dancing in the light of the moon, being watched silently by a ghostly man sitting nearby. If you can find the hill. If you can find the hill.